against orange. See Zataro versus Morrison. And you just came off the back of Cassie Morrison, right, in the first match versus Orange.
Well, we can actually tell something about Zataro now, because I did speak about Morrison being, not a newcomer to Hearthstone in general, but a newcomer to the tournament scene. When it comes to Zataro, though, that's a guy that made living out of poker. So he lives currently in Czech Republic. He's Slovakian, 31 years old.
He's an old timer like us.
He's a data analyst right now,
nice.
but he made living out of poker. So I'm assuming if he did that, he is pretty experienced with the fact, with the fact that he played in tournaments.
Yes.
Right. So he won't be nervous here just by playing, the game and so on. While Morrison, this is the first big event for him, and that will make a bit of a headache for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard enough to just play in a high-pressure tournament, right? Even pros, people who do it day in, day out, it's still hard. But when it's your first time ever and you know so much is on the line here for HCT points, sorry, that was my bad, for just actually performing well in a broadcast big online tournament. Obviously, Blizzard supported, it's a big deal. So we'll see what happens here. Zataro, though, is going to be on the Secret Mage versus this Priest from Morrison.
Zataro has a very interesting card in his mage, which is the Bitter Hydra that we actually have seen in the opening hand, right? It's a one-off that kind of makes sense in some scenarios, in some matchups, but it can be detrimental whenever your opponent has ways of just pinging by one damage.
Yeah, just small minions, right? Any minion with less than 3 attack gains 3 attack if it trades into it. So
Murloc Paladin comes to mind.
Yep,
that's a very bad matchup for the Hydra. An example, especially against Priest as well with the Acolyte. An example.
Yeah, but even Murloc Paladin, you look at cards still like Tyrim to counter it, Poison for Murloc. If you're in trouble, there are a lot of ways to deal with it. But in this one, it's a little bit more difficult as Morrison doesn't actually run spells.
But he has
deck outside of Mind Control and Free from Amber.
Yeah, but he has that one Acolyte of what was the second part of the name? Acolyte of Shadow Acolyte, right?
Yeah, the two steel guy who steals the attack, which we've seen very often against mountain giants in Warlock. That is horrible when you play those giants and that the attack just gets stolen. But for now, Zataro is actually off to a very, very fast start here. And this secret, Morrison is hoping against hope that he can coin out this Dustbreaker, I think, this turn. I don't think he even gets punished for trying it, to be completely honest. If you coin and it's Counterspell, well, guess what? You can play a Tar Creeper. If it's not Counterspell, hello, Mr. Duskbreaker. Going to send the attack in with the Nether Spike just to get an extra point of damage to face. But goodbye. Perfect start, I would say, for Zataro.
It is. Double mana of him, that's a wet dream of every single mage, basically, right? So.
Yeah, and the Sorcerer's Apprentice, right? Like that just cheats out loads of mana as well. And now Zataro kind of playing off the top of his deck because it's a little bit too early to say, okay, Fireball face, okay, Frostbolt face, especially versus Priest when Morrison can say, well, this is very early, you've got no cards in hand. I'm just going to use my hero power every turn then and just like -2 off every single spell you cast.
Yeah. Very good play by Morrison here as well. He would have lost tempo to a single rune, explosive runes. So either one of his minions that he's going to play this turn going to die instantly, but the other one will survive, and that means that he only has one play, which is Shadow Ascendant. But the only minion that can survive an explosive rune and buy you tempo with the form of 2 mana of your opponent next turn, and hero power is crucial to the development of his turn 5, which is Dragonet Operative.
Yeah. And this is huge because the second your secret mage opponent effectively pings and passes their turn, you are feeling very good as the Dragon Priest here. Like you said, this operative is kind of free. Now he has the choice between Counterspell, Crystal Runner, and Hydra. I know it won't be Crystal Runner, but the Counterspell can just prove even more problems because in Morrison's position, the holding of those 2 cards on the left probably is saying it's either burn spells or high-cost spells.
Yeah.
Maybe even a Luneth. But if it's a Luneth,
then he will know it right now.
He'll know. And also, okay, another turn to develop more minions. Like, seems good.
Yep, I agree. Not a good 5-drop, 4/4 on stats. That's unfortunate for Zataro, but at the same time, you got it 3 out of a spell that is a burn spell. So, all good for now, but it's gonna get harder and harder for Zataro if he won't get a really big value card, and like a Lunar, right?
Yeah, and one thing Sal and I were just talking about in the last series was how secret mages are built, and funnily enough, this one that Zataro's brought is a cross between the two main versions, Ice Block versus no Ice Block. There's no Ice Block in Zataro's list, but he's running Pyroblast, which is often a combination of cards that you don't see split up.
Yep.
So there is no extra turn for Zataro to try and get hold of. There's the Pyroblast.
Yeah.
But he does still have a lot of burst damage. And now, I mean, he just has to Frostbolt and go, right?
I think so. I don't think
He isn't trading away
outs.
this board.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, he
okay.
can use Fireball to kill the Tower Creeper, then attack for 3 damage, and then you hope to get a second attack with the Sorcerer's Apprentice next turn, but that's most likely not going to happen because if it would have been just a 5/2 minion next turn as well, the Dragon Operative would have been sacrificed to trade in. So this is a little bit tough for Zataro. The decision to just deal 9 damage to the face this turn, ping. That's 10 damage, leave your opponent at 6. He will get healed to 8. Then he will get healed to 10. So if you don't get another burn spell, that Pyroblast will not be enough.
But you would have to imagine you're going to get one. That's how you have to play the deck like that, right?
I think so.
With a hand like this, the hand is burnt. You have to try.
Woo! He wants to get more value.
So now I would imagine the Fireball does just go to the face.
Well, that is really interesting. He assumes that the operative will trade into the Sorcerer's Apprentice and he wanted to just avoid any other heal on it? Not
So
sure
I
about
think
it.
I think there's a slight fear that the heal hits the operative to push it out of range of the apprentice. But what I'm thinking is 2 pings over 2 turns is -1 heal from Morrison. So if you just ping face, it puts him to 9, which shouldn't change anything right now. But if next turn he pings again, well, he'll be on 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Which 10 is Pyroblast range. So then, every single ping counts. It's very much like Freeze Mage in that instance when you have a hand like this for Secret Mage. You've got to really work out how much damage you can put forward at any given time.
In this case, he lost that 1 damage.
Yeah. But what I would think is if you ping face and Morrison heals the operative to trade, great.
Yeah.
No 2 health to face. Perfect.
Yeah, that is correct. Interesting decision. Let's see if it plays out for Zataro. So he needs to get either Alonef right now. Ooh, that can be a second Pyroblast
Card
or
draw,
card
burn.
draw. Exactly.
Yeah, what are the options here? Cone of Cold, Blizzard, and a Vaporize.
Well, those are quite awful.
There's one way to think about it where Blizzard, probably Cone, you would Cone actually.
Because you can squeeze the hero power.
Exactly, but this gives him maybe works out being 1 more turn's worth of draw because he doesn't die fast enough.
I think actually it's going to be Vaporize.
Because no matter what, you're getting a good target.
Yeah, like both of them have... Ooh.
Oh wait, of course, Blizzard gets reduced.
Haha!
We're so silly, Lothar.
Okay. But I still think Vaporize could have been better because it kills a minion with either 4 or 5 damage.
But what if Spiteful comes down? Then okay, you eat the Tar Creeper with Vape, but then this is like a 10 drop or an 8 drop on the board. I think going for the freeze was correct and holding it makes sense in the long run. He can take 9 damage. He's on 28.
Yeah, that's true.
But the deck is only minions, so
the point is, at some point you will need to use a lot of mana in 1 turn, and you might not squeeze everything, into 1 turn since you don't play ice blocks. So you then don't get that additional mana from the additional turn.
Yeah, the 1 extra.
Right. So this might be something that might be worth considering.
I think this is fine. He has a lot of turns, and he already has Pyro. But what's tricky, as you said, and what is going to get harder and harder, is now Pyro has to be the finisher. Oh my God. If it was Cone, Lothar, if it was Cone.
Yeah. That would have made the difference. Look, and now he knows that he gets 7 damage, right?
16.
16. So it's 3 off. Is there a chance of him being dead next turn?
You've seen the operative, and your deck is full of a lot of burn cards.
And your opponent still can play Curious Glimmerroot and anything else, actually. I think that's all.
There's also a chance at Free from Amber into a Devil Saw.
Oh, yeah, right. That's also a case.
It's small, but...
Yeah. Spiteful Summoner as well.
Yeah.
Right. So there's actually, when you think about it, there's a lot of options when it comes to lethal next turn. And you know that Alunef is actually your win condition. So it was a crucial decision. That glyph could have been a game changer. Either Vaporize or Cone of Cold could have been squeezed into a turn with Alunef.
Gonna go for it. He has to. I do agree with this Alunef. You have to. But this is why Ice Block is often paired with Pyro. When can he cast Pyro now? He can't. If he had Ice Block up, he could cast Pyro this turn and say, and then all freeze and keep going. But now he's dead anyway. But this is why it's a bit of a problem there. And Morrison getting off to a good start there with that fireball from the Operative. And this just brings back the days when, remember like original Dragon Priest was played and the Operatives, when we first saw them, were like, you can just take your opponent's stuff. It's like with cards like Fireball that Priest has never really had access to, that kind of burst.
Well, honestly, Dragon Operative is one of the best cards in the game that are semi-fair, I would say. Because you can cheat out, right? Some games because you just get something that you shouldn't have in your deck like at all because it's from different class. But at the same time, when you consider like the stats and the ability, it seems like a really superior class card.
Yeah, I think the requirement of dragons was just enough to make it not silly. You know, you need a dragon in hand for it to be live. If you've done that, then you need to build a dragon deck, which has its own limitations, and so on, so on. So I think like Operative's nuts, but it's not Raza. It's not Corridor Creeper.
I mean, if that would have been a neutral card, but by neutral I mean with no restrictions when it comes to dragons, right?
Oh yeah,
that would have been
best card
broken.
In the game. Easy.
Yeah. It's like Azure Drake on steroids.
Yeah.
Like
and we already got Azure Drake taken away from us. Yeah. We had nice things and then they got taken away. We are going to go into game 2 now. Zataro on the Priest and Morrison going for this Murloc Paladin. And already so much of these matchups with the popularity now of Dragon Priest over Highlander, so many of these matchups just go, Dustbreaker. Good card. Good card.
Dustbreaker, one of the best cards in the expansion, I would say.
Although not as nuts as everyone thought it was.
I think it's nuts. I don't think it's
but people would a lot of the pros were saying, game breaking and best card in the set, like absolutely insane. I don't think it was. I think it's good. I never thought it was that good.
I never heard game breaking, but if someone had said game breaking, that's kind of harsh. It's like game breaking.
Well, like everyone presumed that every single game would be decided by a turn 4 Dustbreaker, and that's just not true.
That's not true. I mean, game breaking was Undertaker. I think that's the only card in Hearthstone that you can say that was game breaking. Like
I played during the World Championships, there was the Brawl. First deck I got was Firebat's Hunter, and I was like, okay.
I mean, honestly, by the way, Blizzard, well done. That Tavern Brawl was a fantastic piece of like a time
best one. Yeah, best one.
It's awesome to have like, especially for the newer players, they can be like, oh man, I can play a deck. That was a possibility 4 years ago, basically, right? It's amazing. That's not something you can do. Like an example, let's say in traditional card games, you can always play those decks.
Yeah, the cards don't disappear.
Yeah, they don't disappear, and you can just print them out and just play, with proxies. Like even if you don't have those cards because they're not being printed enough or whatever, right? For some reasons. In Hearthstone, you don't have that possibility since you cannot really modify the game, right? Yeah. So those Tavern Brawls are absolutely bonkers, and I would love to see every year something like that, even straight after World Championships, Like a week after that, you have the chance to play the Championships decks,
What isn't bonkers, though, is Morrison's hand full of weapons. This is not really what you want with the Murloc Paladin. Although he's got off to a reasonable start, just having the Valfin early, which means that any hero power is a reasonable level of threat for Morrison there. Having just 2 Rallying Blades and a Maul just isn't fantastic. Really here, and the Maul is the +1 attack. I just had to double check them.
All right. Well, now I guess you need to get some value out of your weapons as soon as possible. Otherwise, you're gonna be stuck with the card advantage that
you have
never
to
can
just drop
use.
That Cleric, yeah. And this 1/1 Cleric isn't a huge threat, especially next turn because there's nothing to damage and heal. So you actually save from this 1/1. The 1/1 being the whiff from the elixir, so to speak. But there are some times that it gets value.
Now.
Yeah, if it hit a Scalebane, if there was just a damaged minion on board, it could heal, for example. There are times. So Elixir, maybe a bit of a underwhelming card we thought at first, has seen some play, and a lot of players are liking it at the moment. Oh, this juggle has to be masterful. It's going to face 100%. I can feel it. Oh, no. Okay.
Sniped.
Yeah. Headshot.
That's the HS abbreviation.
Yeah. That was good, Lothar. But not the hit that Morrison really wanted. This cleric is going to get even more value going forward if Zataro wants. But there is the Dustbreaker. But I think he can hold on to it, to be honest.
Yeah, Dustbreaker can be held. Now, the question is, do you want to get the value out of Twilight Drake? Value, quote-unquote, because he only has 5 cards in his hand. So basically, he gets a Yeti out of it.
I was wondering, he could have even cleared the board there.
I was thinking about Potion of Madness, trade in, and then heal your cleric to get a card advantage as well. But at the same time, you play against a deck that you know that is steamrolly, so you need to have as much board control as you can, possibly. So, getting additional minion on the board rather than virtual card advantage by using, more mana with your hero power, I think it's more valuable.
Yeah, and I think the fear factor for not using that Twilight Drake was there's no proc for Dustbreaker then in hand for Zataro. And you want that emergency switch of Dustbreaker. You want to be able to just press that button and nuke your opponent's board, because the second... Zataro's in a good position that he didn't have to Dustbreaker on curve. But the second you lose the ability to Dustbreaker is when you will die to Murloc Paladin.
Correct. All right, well, this is kind of a pickle for Morrison.
I think he has to swing at that cleric, yeah. Although the trade looks nice for the Glimmer route, you can't just let Zataro draw more cards, especially since that's like the 1/1 cleric that was generated. Oh, Twilight Acolyte.
Twilight.
You threw me off because you're Acolyte of, and I'm like... Oh, God, okay, it's not pain.
Yeah, too many acolytes,
Yeah.
It's like getting confusing.
Now I wonder, Zataro has to be thinking, can I just slam Twilight Drake? Is Twilight Drake and a Glimmer Root enough to give me X turns?
Well, how many dragons does he has left in his deck? Because he didn't play a single one left. Single one yet. That means that he has 2 Dragon Operatives, he has 1 Twilight Drake, another Dustbreaker, and then we have also... Oh, that's it.
Yeah, that's all of them, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's only 4 dragons left.
Mm-hmm.
So he has still...
Well, there's Nether Spites, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So Nether Spites generate extra.
21 cards. Wait, so that's 6 cards, basically, right? But for Nether Spite, you need to... use additional mana, basically, to get something. So you might not have the mana to play every single thing that you want.
Yeah. Okay, so
he's keeping it. I think that's a good decision, because you might not see a dragon for a very long time if you just play the other one.
Morrison has now pieced together enough Murlocs, like his own mini call to arms, I guess, for slightly more mana.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Hero Power Seer just seems like what he needs to do. He just needs to stick something to the board. Like, as Murloc Paladin, you're getting beat on board by the Priest. It's not something you can really deal with. There needs to be something just stick long enough for this War Leader to get some value, for the Blessed of Kings to get some value, just anything to feel the pressure in. Well, there's Zataro's safety net. Double Dustbreaker now if he wants.
Yeah, and I think this is the turn when you just play one of them. Probably even the one that you just held for so long.
Oh, his Acolyte won't heal up enough to get out of range. That's a shame.
But I think it's worth it to just get the entire board control. If you go Tarim, that's not really what you want to do, I think. Because a single Blessing of Kings just completely wrecks Tarim.
What Zataro can do here is actually play the Drake. Because he has the Dustbreaker off anyway, and hold the second one. But one thing you always have to consider is that when there are more than, say, 1 Murloc on the board, you have to think about Megasaur. You have to think about anything that's, second Cold Lights here, anything that's going to buff or change the Murlocs into some problems. It looks like he did go for the Tarim.
I find that really surprising. I think the only reason why he went for the Tarim is the fact that it costs 6 mana, and they want to be more flexible on your future turns to not be stuck with a 6 mana card that doesn't really fit with any other of your cards that can be played on the same turn.
Also,
I find it kind of weird.
Might be going down the rabbit hole a little bit, but these are 3/3, so they die to a trade, right? if there's a buff there, say plus health from Megasaur, well, they'll still trade, or they'll still potentially be able to attack in. But then the Dustbreaker kills off, and the board's wider, so you get more value from Dustbreaker. Yeah, but what I'm worried about is there must be a point that you hit where you can be far too greedy and want too much value from a Dustbreaker and try and bait out too much, because then you could just die.
Not only that, the opponent might just have less threats, but bigger threats on the board already.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Stage of the game, right? Actually, Dustin, I was thinking about another possibility. Morrison went with the first instinct that everyone has most likely, which is the slam the Blessing of Kings right now. It's perfect. It's +4/+4. You have a 7/7, and your opponent has a 3/7. It looks amazing. But I was thinking maybe the War Leaders would have just been better in this turn, to just push for the damage, because the opponent didn't show the Dustbreaker, but that could have been the bluff that Zataro wanted to do.
Yeah, right? I think this play from Morrison just hedges bets, right? Like, if you go double Wall Leader, yeah, you could just actually win next turn. But if they have a Dustbreaker, you lose next turn. Like, that's the real problem. Whereas the Blessing of Kings, as you can see now, actually does pretty well. I wonder if there's an Inner Fire play here.
To get it as 1/1?
Yeah.
Well, Inner Fire is not a win condition. You just grind
not
out,
in this matchup,
right?
especially, yeah.
You just grind out, the Dustbreaker just gets you enough of value to have 2 minions sticking like around, and your opponent is gonna be messed with, right? So
also, if the Talon Priest comes down, well then the Murloc just gets a trade into the Dustbreaker anyway and just kills it. He's gonna go for it though. So maybe it's just he said, I'll hold the Inner Fire because you'll trade into this 3/6. Because maybe these cards that Zataro's been holding on to for a little bit, Divine Spirit Inner Fire, for example.
That's a decent combination. Call to Arms with the Blessed Maul. What can he get? He can get a Knife Juggler out of it and get additional
Righteous
snipes.
Protector, Murlocs. Righteous Protector is decent just because it will soak a trade of some kind outside of the Dustbringer. He's just going to take the trade, yeah. Okay.
Trading. Alright, that's interesting. So he goes for...
It's going to make the War Leader and the 3/1 be able to trade up into the 3/4 if required. Holds the weapon. Doesn't want to play another Call to Arms quite yet. Which does confuse me a little bit, because a Call to Arms straight after a Dustbreaker, it's as unlikely as it's ever going to be in a given game, right?
Yeah.
Is that there's no second Dustbreaker.
That is correct. That is a correct assumption, and I find it surprising as well. So I'm trying to think, what is his reasoning?
If Murlocs get pulled and they don't get answered, bang bang, double War Leader, go.
Yeah.
The turn after, like you get the value from the buff instantly,
and you can still get, you can still top deck Gentle Megazords.
Yeah, there's plenty
of that, right? For the next turn. So that would be another amazing push.
I mean, we do see that, obviously, we're saying that all this from Morrison's point of view, but Morrison now has double Call to Arms after both Dustbreakers. So this has worked out insanely well for Morrison. I like double Call to Arms, really. There's nothing else left.
Yeah, but I still believe that the Call to Arms previous turn was better.
Yeah, from Morrison's knowledge of what's going on in the game.
Because you have no way of knowing that there's a second Dustbreaker. There was no tell.
Play that second Call to Arms. All in.
Well, Hero Power and Murloc Warrior doesn't seem to be bad as well. But at the same time, what you have to think about is that the second Call to Arms actually gets you the small minions out of the way of the deck. And you have higher chances of getting those big hitters from your deck. So in this case, that will be, the Tarim, the Gentle Megazords, another Blessing of Kings. That's it.
Yeah. But even so, I think for me, it's because you load up the board. We see the Mass Dispel in hand for Zataro. Well, it doesn't dispel tribes, right? The Murlocs are still Murlocs.
Yep.
So then you just play the War Leader next turn. It's so unlikely that these minions die. Whereas, for example, if you played the War Leader, then Potion of Madness, and then just trade into the War Leader. Boom, there goes tons of damage that you could have had. There is now Divine Spirit and Inner Fire.
Now we can also see that...
If there's a second... Oh, okay. If there's a second Divine Spirit, was there 12... No, there's only 15, not 17. That's how scary this Dragon Priest deck is. There was a small chance that Morrison could just be dead that turn.
Did he have enough mana for that? He would have to go through through the Argent Protector with Divine Shield. So
No,
was not-
Master Spell.
yeah, but after the Mass Dispel, he only had 5 mana left, and he would have to heal his minion. Thus.
Well, it would have been a 3/3. It would have been a 3/4. Sorry, right? All I mean is if there's a minion on the board, you can just die against Priest.
All right, well, this is plus 6 damage on the board.
It's 14. Fortunately, the Tide Caller is silent, so he's not going to gain extra damage here.
All right, so let's think about the buff, because the buff is actually pretty crucial here in this situation. You can put it on one of your Murlocs, on the Tide Caller, most likely, and just straight trade.
I think you put it on the War Leader to stop the Talon Priest going in, and then just ignore the Talon Priest.
But you can just kill it with the weapon.
Oh, that's true. He's got the weapon, yeah.
So I think that was good enough. You didn't have to sacrifice like both of your Murlocs in this situation.
I guess going around it this way, going for the extra damage this turn. Yeah, completely right. The weapon's going to clear off the Talon Priest. And now Morrison's going to sort of play a dance now where he'll try not to leave a minion on the board, but if he can set up lethal in the next following turn, it's probably correct too in terms of odds. Zataro does have that Stonehill defender as well, which is going to be a bit of a speed bump, but he is facing down. What's that?
Is there? I mean, he can get
17 damage next turn without anything from hand.
He can get a minion that can mass clear from the Stonehill defender. He can get a
Abomination. I was thinking more of a potential Obsidian statue.
Obsidian statue.
That would soak damage, that would heal him, and it would kill off a minion when it died.
All right, he went for the random spells. That could have been helpful as well because he can just get let's say, Dragonfire Potion, right? And that would have been game-winning next turn.
Ooh.
Yes, Dirty Rat is very good.
I was looking at Craze Worshipper myself, but okay.
That's like the Twilight's Drake biggest nightmare.
This is one of the deviations that Morrison's taken for his Murloc Paladin, and me and Salt were discussing earlier. It's kind of a throwback to sort of a few months ago when Murloc Paladin everyone was playing it. Was that Stonehill having so many Paladin legendary taunts was very powerful, but Stonehill still feels slow, to be honest, in the current list, even with Corridor Creeper gone.
Yep.
Did get that Tyrion though, and you can't argue with that. Zataro doesn't really have much game versus Tyrion.
He needs to think. Does he want to kill the 10-10 right now?
I think you kill it. You have Tyrion. Yeah. The only thing that will lose you the game from this point is something like
buffs, right?
mind control, silence, weird stuff like that coming from Lyra, I think, for the Tyrion. Because otherwise now, there's not much Zataro can do once that Tyrion gets dropped down. Doesn't need to swing. Does have that one turn next turn if he plans on dropping Tyrion to swing the hammer. Then open up some room for that lovely Ashbringer. There's Abomination.
Well, to be honest, that Abomination could have killed it in one Murloc, so wasn't really that great. But
Giant Mastodon.
The Mastodon
sounds like it
has a potential.
Should morph like a Power Ranger. Mastodon was one of the originals, I think. I know the Blue Ranger was Triceratops.
I have to make a confession. I never did watch a single episode of Power Rangers.
Not even when it was on Twitch?
No.
They did it. Oh.
I mean,
I love that. Right.
I've seen like a minute of it, right? But
you should watch it. It's great.
It was never my thing, right?
I loved it.
I was watching, when I was a kid, I was watching Captain Tsubasa, which is probably Captain Falcon.
Okay, right.
English,
I was like, this is some kind of Polish TV show I definitely won't know about.
No, that was other shows that I was watching, but Power Rangers kind of felt cringy to me.
Oh, that's why it's so good.
That's a big minion, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that putting the Twilight Drake on board was more important.
I don't know, because Zataro could just kill him next turn. Remember, he has 12. If he has anything to buff health next turn,
I mean, he would have combination of multiple stuff. Because first of all, Shadow Madness has to be played to get the taunt out of the way, right?
Yes.
Then you need a buff on the health, and then you need.
You have the Alchemist. You
Well,
don't need
yeah,
it.
shield is enough. Right,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like
Yeah.
one buff, health buff, and he's through. Not now, of course, because we see Tyrion, but that was just one of those cheeky moments where you're like, just don't play another taunt.
That is a correct assumption, but that is only if your opponent doesn't trade a single thing into the minion.
Yes, of course.
And I think that doesn't happen when your opponent, doesn't have an option to attack your face.
Yeah. Well, I think as well, in this deck, I would always try and put damage. I would try and throw away some minions on some damage on a high health minion like this, because it's just the fear of doing any damage to a high health minion against this dragon list is absolutely critical, because it just suddenly means that Divine Spirit loses like double the amount of damage you did actually in terms of potential attack.
Yeah.
Now this is just might just be too much here.
He needed that Master Spell right now.
I mean, Master Spell probably stopped him from dying early on, to be fair.
Yeah.
It did a lot of good work.
So now what can happen is that he might just use the Shadow Madness to deal with...
Ping the... Oh, okay. Yeah, he's going to take the shield off with the War Leader.
Yeah.
I like this. Could actually kill off Tyrion if he wanted to.
He can, but that puts another damage on board already, like it would have charge, because your opponent gets instantly the attack with the Ashbringer. That Ashbringer kills the Twilight Drake.
He's going to.
Whew. I don't know. I was thinking like maybe he should wait one more turn for that.
I think Zataro might be considering the value game here, because the trades actually went into the taunt. Tyrion still lived, and he got to use the weapon. The hammer, the charge of the hammer. So this gets rid of the charge of the hammer and removes Tyrion, because Tyrion has to go at some point.
Yeah,
and Zataro doesn't have all the time in the world versus an Ashbringer. There's no extra healing in this list. Lyra's already gone, so there's no chance at any extra either. So I think it was one of those you've got to just suck it up, deal with it, but get Tyrion off the board, because, yet again, suddenly if there's no taunts on the board anymore, there's a chance at a minion getting through there, especially one as high health as Giant Mastodon.
Yeah.
And this is, Morrison can't really just tank this Mastodon with this weapon.
And he gets the
Divine Shield and 2/2.
no lifesteal.
No.
Unfortunate.
Oh, we've kind of lost vision. Oh, we're back. Never mind. Scared me for a second.
That was a Shadow Vision.
Uh-oh. Poison.
Whoopsie. That's a good top deck. And those are really bad options.
Plants are okay.
Are they? I mean, when you compare it to other options that could have hit, they are pretty bad.
That's why I used okay.
I mean, after you see 2 Dustbreakers, that adaptation kind of loses a lot of value.
It gains value if you see Dustbreakers.
No, because
they can't be like traded into then cleared. Nah. Well, what this does means there's still any point of damage is valuable at this point, because both players are playing off the top of their deck more or less, and there's no way to clear these minions anymore. Wait, hasn't Morrison still got Tarim?
yeah, he still has Tarim.
Yeah, so it's huge.
All right, that's
Keep the board
with
full.
Tarim,
Tarim just
yes.
kills him. Yeah,
With Tarim, that's actually you're right.
and more juggles.
Still.
Maybe I'm upgrading it from okay to pretty decent.
Still plus attack would have been
I'm not
better.
saying they weren't better. Poison would have been insane. Throw a 1/1 in.
Yeah.
Kill the Mastodon and go.
All right, Shadow Vision. What can he get? Probably nothing interesting.
Don't
right?
even know if there's an option now with that Shadow Vision's draw. Let's have a look what he is going to discover. Only 2 cards left, Divine Spirit and Shadow Visions. I believe that is going to be game. And Morrison with a little bit of a fist pump there goes 2-0 up versus Zataro.
That was a grindy game to the definition of a grindy game.
Me and Saul just cast this matchup, right, of Orange and Boston. Boston was the Paladin. And we said twice in that last game, oh, yeah, I think Orange is going to be able to get a point on the board here and you start to fight back. And the Paladin deck just got there. Mm-hmm. It just kept going and kept going and kept going. And it continues to impress me how, like, what a deck that can beat you on turn 4 can also beat you on turn 20. Like, it's kind of nuts. Obviously, the Tyrion helped massively there from that tech choice from Morrison.
That is correct. But we have also
here
seen,
we go.
Like, a lot of stuff happening from, the random generation of Paladin taunts in the past, right? That was a crucial part of the control Paladins or mid-range Paladins a year ago.
Yeah, I'm done though. I'm done talking about these lesser decks when there is a hunter on this screen. For those of you who don't know, you did see Rock Dalar in the mulligan, but this is Spell Hunter, but it has Barnes and Yashiraj in it, so there is some minion power, but not a lot. You go for the high hit of turn 4 Barnes into Yashiraj that then pulls the Yashiraj for the, yes, I've got 14 power on board on turn 4 or 3. But everything else is spells, so there's secrets, there's removal, there's Rock Dalats that once those minions are out of your deck, they can be in hand, that then refills your hand up with all hunter spells. So this is such a cool deck. It's been gaining more popularity. I believe a player called Braggy is one of the go-to players for this deck. I think he made it very early on when Rock Dalar was first released, but it kind of fell off a little bit because Hunter wasn't quite there. But with these nerfs, the deck's gained a little bit more power.
That's correct. Now you can see that the counter spell was just created for a coin. So one might think, should it have even been played? Right?
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one because I feel like the longer you wait with secrets, especially in the tempo deck, they just don't have to play coin. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those weird things like, oh, you should never play counterspell when they have coin, sure, but are they ever going to play coin if you've not played a secret? Like, it's one of those tough ones. I think it's fine to just play counterspell because if they use the coin, then the turns going forward are all stifled anyway. Obviously, you'd like to hit an actual spell.
Obviously. But it gets harder against a deck like Spell Hunter when you have a lot of spells that cost like 1 mana.
Yeah.
So even when you got counterspell for cheap, like 0, it still doesn't net you a lot of tempo gain, which is something that you usually want to see because that's the nature of the deck.
And now, a few dry turns from Zataro coming up. And also, what I will say is outside of Barnes, this Runes doesn't really get value. So other than altering Morrison's thought pattern of, is this counterspell? Number 2. Or is this Potion of Polymorph, which also gets almost no value.
That's unlucky. Like, I would like to say that if you get a tracking and you can get it, like an example, Mulligan, destroy, basically, from your deck, a bounce, right? That would be amazing. Or both minions, right? At the same time, because then you know your Rock Dalar instantly works and so on.
There's many turns to Rock Dalar, though. And also getting the cat trick is nice because you know your opponent's going to play some spells, and it's a minion that doesn't proc runes. So I actually think Morrison is in a very, very good spot here.
Oh, with the Emerald, that's actually bonkers. Bonkers good.
Yep. It's the card, the Spellstone, the Emerald Spellstone, has basically made this deck playable. Yes. Because turn 5, 4/3/3 beasts. Yes, that's a good card, especially when the secrets help you get to that turn 5. And look how slow this is. Yeah, you just go. I was gonna say, you could just freezing trap the mana whip. No, play 4/3/3s and hit him in the face.
I don't even think that trading with the mana worm was correct. You can just get 4 damage to the face, and the opponent, if he loses 2 mana on turn 6, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, but he did trade, not big of a difference. He still has 12 damage coming on the board, and that is amazing to see.
Double Pyro in Zataro's and 1 from Glyph, of course. But it's just not going to be enough. This is too much. Secret Mage doesn't have game versus this, losing the board, basically. He cannot play better Tide Hydra. There's the concede, and there's a little cheeky dance there from Morrison as he does take the win and survive. This was the elimination match for this group. So we are going to say goodbye to Zataro, but Morrison does move on, and it'll be a rematch of Morrison versus Orange again.
Yeah.
But
that will be the third time, because Orange played against Morrison in the group stage, right? No, wait, he did play
in the qualifier.
In the qualifier,
I don't.
Yes,
oh,
yes.
Did he? Oh, okay.
He did say that he played against Morrison in the qualifier and he lost, so he got his revenge here.
Oh, okay.
So that will be like the third time they meet, and now we'll see.
Best of 3.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see who ends up on top, right?
Yeah.
But let me talk about a little bit about that Hunter. It's like that was the most aggressive deck that we have seen today so far, just because of 1 card.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Emerald Stone on turn 5 with 12 attack is just incredible.
Yeah.
But let's get our winner to the
Morrison
interview.
is here. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Can you talk again? I don't think the mic's on.
Thank you.
Oh, there we
Hello.
go. We got it. Cool.
Okay,
so
nice.
congratulations. I'm a fan mainly because of that hunt today. So I want to just ask you about that for a second. How much of that list have you played, and why did you bring it?
Actually, I wanted to bring a Tempo Mage, but the more I played it, the more I thought the deck was overrated.
Okay.
And then I searched another deck to fill as a fourth one. And I played that Spellhunter without believing it would be great. And actually, it really good against both Tempo Mage and Paladin Murloc. So I was, I can just bring it and build a lineup who will try to counter both of these decks. That was my call on that bio. It pretty worked.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say because I played a lot of Secret Mage and the Hunter, and as we saw, Ruins does nothing versus that.
That's the
and
point.
also so many cards is just doesn't have anything to do with the Hunter list. So you kind of just get on with it as Hunter, and you can also race Secret Mage quite well.
Yeah, with one card I did 4 wolves, and that's okay. He's dead in 2 turns. I'm fine with that.
Seems
And
good.
there's no Dustbreaker Mage to get rid of those wolves,
Yeah.
right?
What?
There's no Dustbreaker in the Mage, of course, that would just clear. because
That's
that's
the point.
nemesis of the wolves, right?
And how were you feeling in the Paladin versus Priest matchup? Because that was a long one to try and grind out. Were you feeling confident in that one?
That was a tough one because I was aggro deck, and he has a board in early game, so I had to think about another plan. I had to outvalue that combo deck. That's kind of weird because that's not supposed to happen in when you're playing aggro. So that I did not even believe myself. But I succeeded to bait his 2 Dustbreakers.
Yeah.
Then I had the opportunity to go War Leader both, and then I just race him with that, and I'm happy actually that it worked.
And you're going to be facing Orange again.
Yeah.
For what must feel like the 100th time so far. How are you feeling now? Because obviously you're at the point where if you lose, you're out.
Yeah.
How are you feeling now going into a rematch versus Orange? Have you thought about anything to change in the tactics? Not that you have to say specifically, because you'll be listening probably. But are you feeling confident going against him again, or are you a bit?
It could be okay because he still have one of the 2 decks I'm targeting with my lineup. So there's a way I can 3-0 his Paladin, and some of these decks are pretty, I would say, more unstable than some others, like Jedrud, who does nothing, like Dragon Priest, who does nothing. So it will be harder because there's no match tempo, but I suppose, I have a shot.
Okay, cool.
All right, awesome. I have no questions. You played well, and hopefully we'll see you in the next match playing so well as well.
Yeah. So congratulations again.